The random firing of tens of thousands of federal workers has hit a wall. A federal judge says it's illegal. The unions are roaring, and some employees are actually getting their job back. The Office of Personnel Management, they're rewriting a memo that sparked this entire mess. Let's get into it. The Trump administration was in hot water over a memo from January 20th. The Office of Personnel Management, or OPM, sent out an email asking agencies for a list of all their probationary workers. Now, this had a lot of people scratching their head. A lot of people started to get worried because no one's ever done that before. President Ronald Reagan didn't do it. President Bill Clinton didn't do it. They didn't approach shrinking the federal government that way. Probationary employees are not just people new to the government. You can have somebody with over a decade of experience in different agencies, but because they jumped across agencies and they took another job, they could have been recently placed back into probation. So they were cutting these people without any regard to the performance. Then on February 14th, another OPM memo comes out that says, fire them by February 17th. The specific wording was, we have asked you to separate probationary employees that you have not identified as mission critical no later than February 17th. Boom! Tens of thousands of federal employees are suddenly cut from the CDC, from the FAA, from a lot of different agencies. And it's not because these agencies were overstaffed. It's not because they overhired. It's because these people were easy targets. They were easy to get rid of. So they were gone overnight. But last week, a federal judge in San Francisco said, hold up, that's illegal. He ruled OPM overstepped. Big time. OPM does not have the authority to fire federal employees at these agencies. The agency has that authority, not OPM. So on March 4th, OPM rewrote the memo. And they basically add in, hey, we're not directing you to fire anybody. That's your responsibility. That's what you're supposed to do. It specifically said OPM is not directing agencies to take any specific actions. Agencies have the ultimate decision-making authority over personnel actions. Pretty nice wording, right? But it doesn't undo the damage. And now we have unions like the AFGE that represent 800,000 federal workers. They completely lost it. Their president said recently, reinstate everyone. These firings were unlawful. They're pointing over at the federal judge's ruling and they're like, see? This is illegal. This is not okay. And the OPM is like, hey, listen, we're just clarifying things. Clarifying what? Clarifying that you wanted mass firings in these agencies, or clarifying you don't have the authority? Here's a real example. You have Aline and James Kramer, park rangers at Alaska's Lake Clark National Park. They've been there a decade. Got promotions? Then, bam, fired this month. They sued and a judge reinstated them. They have their jobs back. Imagine, over 10 years, wildlife management, tours, keeping tourists safe, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, an OPM memo floats by someone's desk and your job is gone. It's pretty brutal. Now, we don't have an exact count, but it's estimated that tens of thousands of probationary employees got the axe. I think that number is over 20,000. 20,000 lives, 20,000 families that are left scrambling. Who are these people? People that help with our benefits. People that help get home loans. People that help with Social Security check processing. That's who they are. And Trump's reasoning for this is, we're not going to go through Congress. We're not going to have a unified front and figure out what the people want. What we're going to do instead is we're going to go around everything. We're going to take the path of least resistance and we're going to go ahead and chop away at the easy targets. And we're going to do it indiscriminately. We're not going to pay any attention to the performance. We're not going to look at misconduct. We're just going to start chopping. We also saw that the National Science Foundation, they rehired all 86 probationary workers they fired with back pay. This is after the judge's ruling and after the OPM memo clarification. Now, at the CDC, we had some people on Tuesday, they got emails saying, your firing is canceled. And many agencies are doing the same thing. They're like, wait a minute, we acted too fast. Can you come back into the office? You're rehired. But at the USDA, we had about 6,000 probationary workers get fired since February 13th. The Office of Special Counsel, they jumped in there, they intervened, and they asked the MSPB to pause the firings. Pause it for 45 days. They have reason to believe that USDA broke the rules. They were sending out identical termination letters with the same wording: your performance doesn't serve the public interest. What performance are you talking about? These people just showed up a few days ago, a few weeks ago, a couple of months. What performance are you talking about? So special counsel thinks this is a mass illegal move, and they're looking at potentially getting all of those employees back into the agency. Another example, picture a USDA food inspector in Iowa, hired last year to check meat safety. She's good at her job, co-workers love her, but February 13th, she's out. No warning, just a letter. Multiply that by 6,000. It's not because of performance. It's not because of misconduct. It's a purge. And a federal judge agrees. He says OPM orders were illegal and should be stopped. The Trump team lawyers, they're arguing, hey, we didn't order the firings. We were just asking. These were not lawful orders. These were suggestions. We were asking the question. But you see the makeup of the current political climate. You have President Trump in the White House. You have Elon Musk directly influencing not only President Trump, but also OPM. By a lot of people's estimation, he's controlling OPM from the outside. So there's all this pressure being leaned on the agency. The agency's in a position where they're like, okay, we just got to do what we're told to do. But the judge isn't buying it. Next hearing is March 13th. Another example, think of a CDC lab tech in Atlanta, hired to track viruses. She's acing it. Data's clean. The boss loves her. February 17th, she's out because the government is too big. That's not improving efficiency. That's politics. So we have some agencies that are stuck and some that are making progress. You see the NSF, they're already reinstating their probationary employees. So if this federal judge's ruling holds, this is going to be like a slap to the Trump directive of purging probationary employees. It's really a three-front war. You have the unions, you have the special counsel, and you have the federal employees that are suing in a lot of situations. In the middle of all that, we also have the second email that was sent out to all federal workers. This is yet another email that OPM is sending for federal employees to respond with 5 achievements that they accomplished over the past week. Now, some agencies are saying, do not send it up yet again. So look at the State Department. The State Department says that the State Department will speak on behalf of the employees. That sounds pretty nice. But then you have DOD, Department of Defense. They're telling employees to go ahead and respond, but do it in a kind of generic fashion. Do not include any sensitive information. Do not include any classified, any secret, top secret information. Do not include that. There also seems to be the desire to make this into like a weekly cadence, a weekly rhythm where it's being sent up each and every week. Elon Musk is saying this is a pulse check. But we had OPM send out multiple emails in the past. So, a lot of common reasoning would say those should have served as pulse checks. And then you have a lot of people that are saying this isn't a big deal. Just report up what you did. You should feel comfortable doing that. That's your boss. Report to your boss. I always have to do it. In the private sector, I'm always telling people, well, let me explain this a little differently using Burger King. I used to work at Burger King in 1998. I was making Whoppers and chicken sandwiches. So in Burger King, my direct supervisor was the shift supervisor. And then on top of that, we had the assistant manager and the store manager. So there was 3 layers in that Burger King store. And then you had the district manager. So this is the equivalent of a new CEO of Burger King coming in, and they want to cut Burger King in half. And now they're asking you directly, hey, did you burn the fries last weekend when you were working? Tell me about the Whoppers you made. Did you forget to put the ketchup on there? How many Whoppers did you make? You're supposed to make 10 every 30 minutes. You're supposed to make 10 Whoppers. How many did you make? So you feel that pressure coming from a new CEO, completely disrupting how you would normally do it. Because every day, your shift supervisor, they know how many fries you burned. They know how many Happy Meals you put together. They understand that information. So it's incredibly odd to see it coming from like 8 levels of leadership above you. And the person that's 8 levels above you, they're looking at it with laser focus, trying to find any and all excuses to terminate your position. So you feel like your livelihood is being threatened at that point. So that's the perspective of somebody in the federal government when you have Elon Musk, or should I say OPM, asking them, What are 5 accomplishments that you have done? It's the complete abandonment of any type of faith, trust, or confidence in your leadership that you have at the agency level. Now, as the cutting axe continues to swing, there are other cuts to be had. There are cuts in the contracting space, defense contracting. A lot of people, when they left the federal government, they're like, you know what? I'm just going to take a contracting job because, surprise, surprise, for every one federal employee, there is at least 2 contractors, and they're high paying a lot of times. So what we have now is potentially an effort to cut some of those jobs as well. If you want to know more about that, check this video out next. If you need a federal resume example, check out the links down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.